there, book lovers. I'm so glad you're here for our Again and Again author interview. This month, we are talking with Marianne Hering, the author of Islands and Enemies, the 28th in the Imagination Station book series. Tune in till the end to find out who we're talking to next month.
So I should probably hit share video.
Yes, your video's going.
So I'm sharing it.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it would just kind of be on my thing, but I'm not going to do that. So anyway,
shift to you.
Now, am I good? Can you see me? Or I have a whole bunch of words on me, but I don't know how to get rid of those.
Yes, you're going to have words on you as people join in or comment.
Okay.
As I have other things on my face.
As long as you're happy, I'm happy. I found an Odyssey book. So anyway.
Nice. Well, I'm so glad you're here, Marianne. I'm glad we got technology to work on our side today. Well, you are the amazing author behind the Imagination Station series, and I wanted to start off with you telling us a little bit about what the Imagination Station is for those that may not know about the Adventure and Odyssey series.
Oh my goodness. It started decades ago before Magic Treehouse, but it was only audio for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so they, Adventures in Odyssey is Odyssey is a town somewhere in the U.S. It's undescribed.
Very unclear where it is.
Like, it could be anywhere. I'm thinking Chicago area, but I don't know. So anyway, so they're one of the people who was a writer for decades, and I still believe contributes to shows. His name is Paul McCusker. Mm-hmm. And our children were the same age, and we both had struggling readers. And so we were like, we need to do a book series for kids who are struggling readers. And so we decided to expand the Adventures in Odyssey brand into books. And so the Imagination Station books were created in our heads in 2009, and the first book came out in 2010.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Now, did the books happen before the Imagination Station invention came into the series? Or?
No, the invention was audio for a long time. So we picked up the imagination. We almost did the Bible room, but we thought that would limit us, so we went ahead with the Imagination Station.
Awesome. My kids loved both the books and the series. And the ones that do Bible eyewitness stories or adventures in the Bible are some of their favorites. So
yeah, those are good. I'm working on Noah's Ark right now.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
I know, the cover is really cool. Anytime I can jam an animal on the cover of a book, I do. And I had my pick of any animal that was ever created.
That's hilarious. And you got dolphins on this one.
Yeah, I worked on that one. So I do my best.
Very fun. Well, with this 28th book in the series, the enemies and Island and Enemies. I keep switching that. But what was the inspiration for this particular story?
Well, I read a book. I'm constantly reading history books and Googling online, and I read a book about the history of the Middle Ages. And the Middle Ages are called the Dark Ages for a reason. There are no good people. There are no good cultures. There was just very, very, very dark. But one thing caught my eye, and that was about Ferdinand Magellan. When he landed in what we now call the Philippines, mm-hmm. He told them to get rid of their idols. And if this man get rid of their idols, and if a gentleman that was a close friend of the king was not healed, that he could let them cut off his head. He was that guy. He was that guy. And I'm like, this is amazing. And it was well documented. Mm-hmm. And so I had to tell that story. So you don't get people with that kind of courage.
That's hard to find.
I mean, and that was a hard one to write, because there is a less than totally happy ending on that book. And usually my books end happier, but I didn't want to resort to hagiography, which is making somebody a bigger hero than they are. Wanted to tell it as it is, his good side and his bad side. but both sides are very exciting. So it's a good book. It's a good book.
Very cool. So, which part of the book was most fun to write?
Oh, the Vasco and the penguin. We have. I had to work in animals on there, so I was fascinated with the Magellanic penguins, which most of them came to a tragic end, and so I had to save one in my book. That was my fantasy, that at least one
got saved.
survived, when in reality they didn't. So I had to save a penguin.
Oh, you did. And was it? My kids got a crack out of using the hot hands.
Yeah.
That was really, they're like, what are those? And we're like, all right, let's go to the camping store. I'll show you.
Yeah. So I guess in Colorado it's colder here and everybody skis, so we all know what hot hands are.
You all know what hot hands are. Here in Texas,
Not
usually when it gets cold, we just hibernate. Well, you said that you kind of find your inspiration for this book by just reading history. Is there any other places that you find inspiration for these books?
You know, in the beginning, it was just my favorite stories, but now it's getting harder and harder to find good, solid Christian stories with a certain level of excitement.
Right.
So now I'm reading everything I can get my hands on, and now it's harder. But the inspiration comes just from reading, and it'll be. So here I want to set a story in Australia so I can get kangaroos on the cover. And so I was recently there because my daughter lives there, and I started with the history of Australia and read this. Actually, I was going to go 2 years ago, so I read this one 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So this is all about ship captains and everything. So I didn't find anything in there. And so when I was there, I went to thrift stores and I found this. And some of the women mentioned in this book are Christians, but it's pretty small type. And so I'm going to go through this whole book and see if I can't find a Christian Australian pioneer woman. Or if that fails, I have another book I picked up. So that's thousands of pages that I will, it's probably 1,500, 1,500 words. So,
oh goodness.
to read and skim until I find just the right story, and hopefully I'll find a Christian who did something exciting, and I can get a kangaroo on the cover. So it is a lot of work. It is a lot of hours now to find those stories.
Yeah. Because you kind of covered, 28 books in, you definitely have covered a lot of ground.
Right.
Both in biblical history and in, just world history too. And
right.
So
I'm going to I haven't been able to get down to the South Pole, Antarctica. So
yeah, that one would be a challenge.
Yeah. The Shackleton thing is down there, but that ended badly.
That's true.
I just don't want to have a bunch of dead people.
Right.
So I'm still.
There might be some boys that would be interested in that.
Yeah, they might, and it is an exciting story, and you can do a lot of science in it, and but that's the only one so far that I haven't been able to figure out how to get to that continent, and Australia is my second to last one. I think I've done Oceania, I've done South America. I was trying to find one in Canada, but the next one that's coming out is I decided to do the sled run, the Balto story. That's how it's mostly known. Because I found out, I was just reading about it, and the doctor was a devout Christian, and the nurse, she's actually famous. The nurse that, I'm drawing a blank on her name, but she actually went and helped at an orphanage, and a good orphanage, not ones where they found millions of bodies buried.
Not
Orphan
Annie
orphanage. That because that just came up and that made me so sad. So anyway, and then one of her students designed the Alaskan flag. So
oh wow, very cool.
Yeah, so there's some stuff in there about her, and so I wanted to introduce her, and I could actually have people praying, and it's legitimate. They actually would have.
Right.
And so anyway, it's a fun story.
Very cool.
Lots of
Looking forward. Always an
yeah.
adventure, right?
Yeah.
Well, I love the story about your oldest son and how he kind of inspired your Imagination Station spinoff. Can you share that story with us?
Well, he was a struggling reader. I got his Iowa State things back, and like he was in the 10th percentile. And so I'm like,
Okay.
this kid just can't read. And so, and he wasn't necessarily into fiction. So I read him magazines. And I mean, we finally got him up to speed in 4th grade. I mean, this is tutors, vision therapy, the whole bit. It was not easy. But when he could start and what he would work hard to read were books, either books just on straight up animals or the historical fiction.
Okay.
And so that's why when Paul McCusker and his son didn't have the extent of learning disabilities that my son had, but he wasn't interested in much. So we were we were talking about Boys Life magazine and all the good adventure books that they used to have out there that are probably way politically incorrect, but anyway, back in the 50s. So that's what we were shooting for, was boys' books. So there's a couple of books in here that somebody wanted me to do Esther, and I'm like, I'm not doing Esther. I mean, the boys don't care about beauty pageants. Sorry, we're not doing Esther. So I do skew a little bit, a lot of it to the boys' adventure, but I think the girls, I get just as many fan letters from little girls as I do the young men. So
yeah, I think Beth is the epitome of most young girls. Also, just the adventurer,
right,
busybody.
Yeah.
So they can definitely relate to them just as much as they do Patrick. Very fun. Let's see. In the spirit of historical fiction, if you could take a trip in the Imagination Station, when and where would you go?
Today I was thinking, my honest answer is Amy Beach. This is not crowded. I am so tired and I want summer really badly. So that's just me where I'm at right now, needing a break. But I think I would go back. There's all the Bible times and everything, so it's too hard to choose one. But I did like, somebody I would like to talk to is in, I think it's book 16, Inferno in Tokyo. Toyohiko Kagawa was a peacemaker in Japan after World War II, and he wrote a lot of books and made a lot of money, but he gave it all away.
Oh, wow.
And so I think just learning life wisdom from him, because he comes from an Eastern perspective, and I'm so Western, but he was, I read him and it's just like he was so in, he was 100% in to sharing the gospel and being a peacemaker. And so I think he's the one that I would really want to talk to. I think I could learn the most from him.
Yeah, it's a really good book, and definitely a perspective we don't always look at, in World War II stories. And
right. And
great.
I understand now, I mean, reading that and understanding that earthquake, the president or the emperor at the time, he was senile, and his son, Hirohito, took over. He had complete control. He took military control over Japan, and he was 20 years old. And so you could see how that paved the way, where as a 40-year-old, he was ready to try and conquer the world.
Yes.
So anyway, I vaguely knew about that Tokyo fire. And then when I connected all the dots and kind of read about Hirohito, I went, oh my goodness, I might have done that if I had been given total control over a country.
At 20, yeah.
I'm like, I don't think, just the temptation would be incredible. But then there's the Toyohiko Kagawas, who are just kind and loving and molded in the form of Christ, who also experienced that earthquake. So anyway, so that was the reason I did that whole book, was to introduce Toyohiko Kagawa, and that was the most exciting thing in the period of his life. I actually put him there 2 weeks earlier he came after the earthquake, but I put him there during earthquakes. I take a little bit of liberties, but not too many.
Not too many. Try to keep to history as much as you can.
Yeah.
Well, what has been the most impactful Bible verse or story for you?
Well, I was thinking about that. The Bible verses change all the time, but there is one story that has stayed with me almost my entire adult life, and that is in The Horse and His Boy. And I just had his name and I forgot it. Anyway, the boy on Bree rides and rides and rides to save the world, and then he gets off, and Aslan tells him he has to get on and keep going. And so I always think about that story. It's like you want to rest, you want a hero's accolade, and then there's more work to be done, and you have to get back on your horse. And so that describes parenting. That describes my writing career, and it's just the course of life. But it's kind of ordained that way. And if you read, the lives of the people in the New Testament, they had the same. So if you're going to have impact and a life worth living, you just got to get back up on that horse.
Just got to keep riding and keep going. Well, you mentioned The Horse and His Boy, but what is your favorite book?
My favorite book, oh my goodness, I don't have one. At times in my life, it was the rabbit book. This wasn't on the cheat sheet. Where all the rabbits go to war with each other.
Wuthering Heights?
Watership Down.
Watership Downs. That's it.
Yeah, you had the W.
I had the W. I know it's like
it was a huge influence on me.
Mm-hmm.
That whole animal world. I mean, all the C.S. Lewis books I've read several times, so they would have to be up there in my favorites. So,
yeah, what is it? I think I've read. We read all of the Narnia series to my kids while I was pregnant, and then we read it to them a couple of years ago, and I think I've read that whole series to them at least 3 times in their lifetime already, and so that's always a go-to.
So those, I would have to say, they're my favorite. When I clean out my books, and take it into book sales, those are never on the cut list. Never.
That's right. Well, when did your writing journey begin, Marianne?
My writing journey began in 1987. I was living in Pasadena, and I just needed a job, any job. And so I walked into Focus on the Family in a really nice pink suit. It was the 80s.
Oh, good old 80s.
And they let me take the typing test 3 times, and I passed it. And so I got a job as the receptionist to the periodicals department. And then just a couple months later, they had an opening on Clubhouse Junior. Mm-hmm. And so I got to be editor or assistant editor of Clubhouse Junior. And by 95, I was the editor of both magazines. So,
wow, very cool.
So less than...
so the tip is to wear a pink suit.
Well, it was for a front office position. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that, everybody told me wear a suit, so I did. And I was a Biola grad, and so they liked, Biola was just down the street, and so they liked Bible, I was 23. They had to give me the job. I just didn't know that God had a whole bunch of doors that were going to open for me. So I actually learned how to write on the job.
That's pretty amazing.
Most people don't get that opportunity. So
no. And then to be writing with Focus on the Family, that probably just an amazing experience to be in that circle.
I have had the best mentors ever. So.
Oh, what is it? With working with Focus on the Family and Adventures in Odyssey for as long as you have, how does it feel to be a part of something so impactful to kids and families?
It's really nice. I really love it when I get fan mail and when I was actually working in the office, I'm freelance now. They were really good about every week, once a week, they would send around, fan letters or mail that came in from people who were impacted. And it makes you cry. I mean, there wasn't a week that went by that I didn't go, we're doing something that's important. It really helps you get up out of bed in the morning and put on the suit that I had to wear for decades till they finally relaxed the
Right.
dress code. Now they have a normal dress code. But yeah, skirt and pantyhose for way too long.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I've paid my dues, trust me. So, so it is. I mean, it is. And so a few of my friends are saying, well, I want to write for the ABA market. And I'm like, go ahead. I want to uplift Jesus, and I don't want to cover it or have it veiled or have people
Yes.
try and guess, is this spiritual? Or maybe if I read this book, and I don't know how it's going to lead them to church or any kind of discipleship. So I just am pretty straightforward and blatant, and I want to disciple the kids.
It's a strong stance to take, and it's
I just can't see myself writing anything else.
that was one of the things in my writing journey. I was like, well, I could go ABA, just the general market, but I was like, but God is such a big part of my heart. I couldn't write without him being a part of it. And so
And there are Christian writers who do it. Like, there's a really good series by Gilbert Morris that he retold the Arthurian tales. And when I was reading, I'll go, I know this is a Christian guy. And, you know, you read the back, and he used to be a Baptist pastor. And so I think it's a right thing for him.
Right.
But, you know, after reading those books, though, you're not going to know who Jesus is. You're not going to know anything. But I had my kids read them. They're so uplifting and very moral. I mean, just so anyway, it's called the Squires Tale. If anybody wants to grab them, they're really good. Arthurian, exciting legends written by a former Baptist pastor. So they just are really rich with life lessons and meaning and honesty and all that stuff.
I'll have to add that to my book list, which is getting really long right now.
And so I don't want to knock anybody who did it. It's just one, I probably don't have the talent to get to work, to work in anything else that would be meaningful. So I am where I am.
It's a good place to be. I know my kids love your books, and just love the chance to explore history and how Christianity fits into history and all that. And so we've loved it.
Oh, great.
Let's see. Where's my questions? There they are. If you could spend the day with another popular author, who would you want to spend the day with?
Oh, well, a popular author.
You can take that how you want. It doesn't have to be New York Times bestseller or anything like that. But if you could spend...
my favorite author right now is somebody I edit from Rudy, and it's Amanda Clary Estep. And I think she said you've got her for July. She is such a delightful person, and her books are amazing. And I just feel like I could spend a long time with her. So I'm glad heaven will be for eternity.
Yes.
Actually quite a few. But right now, today, it would be Amanda.
Awesome. I enjoy her a lot. I mean, what is it? We've read a lot of her books, and I grew up on Peachtree Lane, so with the Tree Street Kids, I'm like, hey, I'm on the Tree Street Kids.
Yeah. So I wish I had someone. I was trying to think of who profoundly, but honestly, I just like to hang out with the girls and another writer who has the same goals as I do, and so.
She sounds like a good person to hang out with.
She is. She's wonderful.
Well, what are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? So I got behind on the Newbery Award-winning books. So I'm reading When You Trap a Tiger. And it is, the tiger comes from a Korean folklore. So it's really nice. I don't know anything about Korean folklore. Another book set in Korea that I really liked that was a Newbery Award winner was The Single Shard. That one, I would have also wanted to talk to her. Her last name is Park. That one, I think she's a Christian on that one. That one's another really good book. So anyway, I'm working my way backward through the Newbery Award winning books till I get to where I stopped.
Very cool. And what can we expect next from you?
Well, I've got a couple of proposals out. I went freelance writing or had an employment shift in 2020. And so I've been doing the Imagination Station books. I've been editing a lot of books, but I really feel like I want to do some writing. So I have some proposals out there for some other historical stuff, some other ideas. Maybe I want to do some picture books, but I have to figure out how to market everything first. So thank you so much for showing me how to do this Instagram interview. I'll probably be doing more of these and starting them and maybe interviewing you soon. So
I look forward to it.
That's really, and I've kind of been dragging my feet, not kind of, I have for 20 years. So I've been dragging my feet on these.
It's a fast moving train.
Yeah. And anyway, I should have started them 20 years ago and I would have had some record of me not being almost 60 years old doing this. But
So what they say,
I'm up for it. I'm up for it.
You can do it.
I'm going to take this tiger by the tail and go ahead. And I've got some stuff I want to launch. And so I'm just hoarding it all though, because I'm intimidated, but I'll get there.
Well, we're excited for whatever comes next. Anyway, where can we learn more about, where can we learn more about the Imagination Station books?
Okay. Well, the imaginationstation.com is an easy one to remember. And then mariannehering.com. And I check to make sure my sign-up sheet is there. Just get my newsletter and I don't send out every week. I mean, you'll be lucky if I write something quarterly. So I'm not going to bombard your inbox, but I will tell you. And then I'm also creating the nonfiction guides. I almost am done with Magellan's. I didn't quite get it up for the Islands and Enemies, but in a couple weeks there will be a free nonfiction companion thing. There's like a cheat sheet for book 24, which was Harriet Tubman.
Right.
And you can download that. It's a PDF. So I'm hoping to get all that information up there free. There's also vocabulary lists there. So if you have struggling readers or like you're in the kindergarten first grade and you want to review those big long words, most of those are up there. And if you email me, and if it's not there and you want to email me, because I've already gone through the books and highlighted them all, I just haven't typed them in yet. So I'm trying to support parents that way, and just go to my website. But you'll also be able to order any of the Imagination Station books on imaginationstation.com at Focus on the Family.
Wonderful. So, I know I have a kiddo with dyslexia, and I know your kits have been really helpful in his journey in reading. And I know that, just you writing for boys and just speaking to their heart of adventure has been great for my boys in their reading journey.
I'm at a low reading level. I mean, the highest one so far is, I think, third grade first month. I try and stay in that second grade, short sentences. I hardly ever lead even with a prepositional phrase. So they're very accessible to
they are
readers.
So that's one of the great things about these books. I'm so thankful that you got to join us today and tell us a little bit about your writing journey and your books.
Thank you so much.
And we look forward to seeing what comes next.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, book lovers. I'm so glad you got to watch our interview with Marianne Hering and talking about her book, Islands and Enemies. Next month, we are going to be talking with Dr. Sonia E. Amin about her book, Backs in His Bubbles, a book about a boy and his feelings. I'm so excited to talk with her and to share this book with you. So make sure you subscribe below and let me know in the comments who else you would like me to interview. I'd love to hear it. Talk to you next month.